Well, hey guys, Mason here, and I'm just out for a test and tune. This is my third ride of the season. It warmed up, we got out for a couple rides, and then all of a sudden it snapped down cold again, so we've been kind of trapped inside. But beautiful day today, so I thought I better get out and see how this stuff is working. The big change is that I changed the front fork oil and the rear cogent suspension went back for a service. So it's back and it is as it was when I originally received it from Cogent, and it's working beautifully. The front end, instead of having 130 millimeters of airspace at the top of the fork, I decided to stiffen it up this time, and I brought the oil up to 115 millimeters, which is the absolute max. And I have kind of overdone it. The front end's a bit stiff. So I'm going to let the front caps out all the way. They're only in, I think, 2 notches right now. I'm going to let them out, see if that softens it up any. And if not, then I'll just take it apart and take some of the oil out. No problem. At least it's all fresh oil and everything's ready to go for the season. The other big difference you might notice is the new Moscow Moto R80 revolver. So I decided to upgrade my Moscow Moto R80 this year. My last one has been on the bike for 5 years. You guys have seen it in just about every trip, well, in every trip we've ever done. And it works absolutely fantastic. I threw it in the tub and gave it a scrub up, and it still looks like the day it went on the bike, and that's after 5 years of some pretty serious abuse. So that one's new home is going to be on the back of Mellon's CRF 250. He's taking that one from me, and I decided to upgrade to the revolver. The main differences being, obviously, you can take the beaver tail completely off. So up here, while we're still under lockdown, it's nice to have my kitchen with me and the cook stove, coffee, water. And then, of course, I have my compressor and first aid kit and everything on. But I thought I would try running like this up here for the summer. In a stripped down R80 version. So beaver tail off, my big camping bag that goes on the back that has my tent and sleeping bag and everything in it, that stays at home, and just run it sort of in a base version. A little bit more of a tip to the legs. The rear pockets are waterproof, and the removable bag, you can take it out, put it back in. You can store fuel bottles in there rather than the bag if you want. So some nice upgrades, some nice touches. But really, I mean, there was nothing wrong with the old R80. I just wanted to upgrade so that I could stay current, give you guys a little bit more information on how the new version of the R80 stands up. So we'll see a bit more on that later as we go. The other thing that's new on the bike for this year is I'm running a Trail Tech TAC clock and hour meter. I had a lot of questions when the new KLR 650 was released. A lot of people asking about the fact that it doesn't have a TAC. These are fairly inexpensive. They seem to be really good quality. And from what I can see today, it's almost spot on with the actual RPM of the motor. So I'm really excited about that. When the new bikes come out, if they actually end up not having a TAC, this may very well be an option. About $80 Canadian. I'm not sure what they're worth down in the US. Other than that, that's about it for updates. I am running the bike now with the 14-tooth sprocket. As you know, I did that, I think last year or maybe the year before. I decided to make that switch. The first chain and rear sprocket was replaced at about 16,000 kilometers, and I'm noticing some wear on my rear sprocket, so I've pulled in a new rear sprocket chain and front sprocket just for when I need it down the road. Things are getting a little harder to get your hands on up here now. A little bit of supply and demand issues. So I decided to pull that in so we have it if we need it. The other thing it got this year was it was getting to be a little bit of a slow start. And the AGM battery that I was running for the last 5 years was just getting tired. I charge a lot of stuff on this bike, guys. All the camera gear, the drone, everything is charging pretty much all the time that I'm riding. So it's, you know, there's a lot of demand on my battery, and 5 years out of an AGM, that's really good. So I put a new AGM in, and it's firing and charging beautifully. Other than that, I'm excited for a new season. If this weather holds, boy, this is just gorgeous out here today. Now, I'm on my own. Everybody else was busy today, and I can't even find Old Mason, so maybe we'll be able to hook up with someone a little bit later on. But for the time being, there's an update. We'll call that the Spring Mason's ADV KLR 650 update. Okay, some minor adjustments made. My adjustable top caps from Cogent are wound all the way out now. I had them on the second setting, and I've moved the R80 back slightly because the water bladder kept bumping me as I was going along that little bit of trail. The old spring testing tune. Good times. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the trip that just aired on the channel from last August. It was such a great trip. Myself, Melon, and Shooter Tech on the KLR 650, the CRF 250L, and the Triumph Tiger 900 Rally Pro, respectively. And fantastic. Just such a great trip. There's a couple good things about that trip. One is that we were just able to get away with everything that was going on that's sort of COVID related. Not that we're not all sick of talking about that, but it also proved that, or it showed us that we should be able to again get out this year, and that takes a lot of the worry out of it. It's quite often you just need to have those trips, you just need to have those getaways. The other thing about that trip that was so cool was that was Shooter Tech's first time camping. Well, it was his first real trip on the Triumph, let's put it that way. He had done some local stuff, I think, but he had never had to deal with what he brought for an entire week. I know it was a great trip for him. He got a little bit more seat time on the Triumph in a little bit more nasty conditions, if that makes sense. And I think it was a huge confidence booster. I think once you do a trip like that, then you know you can just, it doesn't matter, you can go anywhere with it. So that was a great thing. I know it was a great trip for me too. The KLR ran perfect. My camping setup worked perfect. I've spent some time this past winter going over my pack out as well, and just kind of doing the same. I don't bring anything now that I don't need. So there's not much I can change. I have managed to find a little bit of weight savings this winter, but I mean, I upgraded my chair and I upgraded my sleeping bag. Those are two things I wanted to do anyway. Between the two of them, I saved £1 each. But I'm scrounging now. It's the cost per pound saved outweighs the pound now, so I'm pretty much there. My pack out now, the new R80, and my full load out, I run about 60 pounds, well, between 55 and 60 pounds on the back. That's food for a week, water, all my camp fuel, everything. So that's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. It started at about 62 and I've got it down around 55, but I mean, it's going to vary a little bit. You know, you stop on the trip and you grab another bottle of water and you fire it in your pack, and there's another 5 pounds. But if you know your base weight, I think that's nice. And I think it's important, especially if you're doing anything in the way of custom suspension or just suspension settings. I think it's important to know what your weights are, how much your gear on your body weighs, plus your average body weight, where you put your gear on the bike. I know that I've got 20 pounds on the front between my tank bag with all my camera gear, my tool kit, and my tubes and irons. And of course, knowing the actual weight of the bike by the time you've put all your add-ons and extras and a full tank of fuel in it. These are all good numbers to have if you find yourself in a middle of a pandemic and you're bored to tears like I was. So everything went on the scale. But I like that stuff. That was a great way for me to pass the winter. It's interesting to me. Some of the stuff that I was carrying, I didn't realize how much it weighed. I knew my tent is the Elixir 2 by MSR, and they're just absolutely bulletproof. I mean, the fabric's strong, the poles are strong. It's a lifetime tent. You buy one, you don't have to be that careful with it. It's just going to stand up. But there's a bit of weight there too. But I'm not about to replace it to gain 1.5 pounds. So, my tent weighs 5 pounds and it stays on the bike. I could buy a 2-pound tent and save 3 pounds, but it's going to cost me a lot of money, and then I'm going to have to be careful with it too. So certain things are just like riding a KLR, I guess. Everything is a compromise. So yeah, I'm happy if I can get down around 55 pounds packed weight on the back. I'm ecstatic. With the Kojin suspension, this thing doesn't even notice that. So yeah, by the sounds of it, we're all ready to go. I know Melon's excited to get his hands on my previous R80, the version 2. That's going to be a great piece of kit for him. Give him a little bit extra room for stuff like a camp chair, and stuff that he couldn't bring along before, because he has to carry quite a bit of fuel. Doesn't have to. He does carry quite a bit of fuel. So yeah, that's exciting. We'll all be running the Moscow gear this year. Hey guys, if you liked that video, hit the thumbs up button for us. It goes a long way towards helping out the channel. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button in the upper corner for new videos every Sunday. Be glad to have you along for the ride.